Welcome to Dusty Company. This is the laptop case slash folio that I designed and built in my most recent video. I wanted to make a companion video doing a walkthrough of the product, discussing some of the design and manufacturing details, as well as some of the things that I would change for future versions. First off, the problem was that I wanted to be able to bring my laptop and some papers with me when I go to quick things like grab a coffee or meetings or perhaps to a class or two if I don't need to carry very much with me, but I wanted these two things and in a fairly compact and convenient way. So my idea was to make something that holds those two items, but one of the important details was that you would be able to access either of the items completely independent of each other. So I came up with this double flap design that I think ended up not only being quite functional, but quite aesthetic as well. The aesthetic decisions were essentially all based on function. This diagonal cut here and these highlight pieces were kind of required based on the fact that, again, the flaps had to function separately, and these accent pieces were required to cover the back of these snaps. Looking at the interior, it's a pretty simple document holder with just this single flap at the bottom, and it's actually got this wooden panel at the back to keep things safe. You're not going to get any bent documents or damaged documents if you're keeping them in here. You can obviously slide whatever papers you want. It's a little snug, but you can slide any papers you want in there, and it quite nicely holds a big notepad. Now, some of the quirks or things that I would change with this product. Starting with this liner, it was required for me to stitch along the top edges here so that it doesn't peel up while you're inserting the laptop, however many times throughout the life of it. And it does look a little bit rough. That's probably just a side effect of using a material that's not really all that compatible with leather, but it would be nice if I could have cleaned that up a little bit more. Along with that, you can actually see the liner on the outside edges, just because I made it the exact same size as the leather, and I didn't really seal the edges of the leather in any way, so you can actually see the liner from the outside. It does look pretty sloppy. I think in the future, if I just made the liner a little bit smaller, undersized, and away from the edge, and then I would properly glue the edges, everything would look a lot cleaner and it would still have the exact same function that it does now. On the inside, this was actually meant to be different from the way that it is, and I kind of changed it up on the fly. The original idea was that this would actually be convertible so that it could either be a simple document holder like you see here, or it could actually have a clipboard installed. So this panel up at the top was meant to be able to flap open and allow for this board to come out and for a clipboard to be installed. Unfortunately, I realized that you would have this step, if you were to have pages in here, you'd have this step right where the leather would be covering the clipboard, and you wouldn't really want to write on leather anyway. It's got a little bit too much give. And in my case, you'd have even a second step that would also sort of keep this from being a flat surface, and it wouldn't really be very convenient for a clipboard. For my purposes, this is going to be still quite useful because I really just wanted to use it as a document holder so I could just bring a few items with me, and if I wanted blank pages or a notebook with me, it'll be quite convenient. I think in the future I would make this a pure clipboard and it would just be a flat surface that was meant for writing on. The other possibility would be to properly close this off. I would just use a single piece of leather, shove the board in here, and close it up at the top. So you wouldn't have this silly gap that was never meant to be here, but unfortunately it's there. Probably the only other thing that I would change with this design is changing up the way that I stitch the front. As you can see, these accent panels are already sort of coming up a little bit. It would be best if they had a little bit more support, some stitching maybe all the way up to the corners here. But other than that, the whole thing is quite solid. I'm really happy with the way that it looks. The way that it turned out is really, really nice. I've actually been using this quite a bit since I made it, and it's great. I've been very happy with it. If you were interested in purchasing something like this, I made this pretty much custom for myself, which means if someone wanted one, I would have to probably do the same for them. Go ahead and contact me either through YouTube or on my website, which is dustyco.ca, and we can work something out, find a way to solve your problems and give you a functional piece that should last a lifetime. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one.